Welcome to my Pecha Kucha. My work is usually transdisciplinary and is deeply multifaceted and evocative. In this term, I am making a film portraying my own experiences of gender fluidity, expressing my identity and drag. These are some of my inspirations. Growing up, I always liked the idea of dressing up or doing makeup of different characters or gender as a way of expressing myself, not just artistically, but also in a way that satisfies my gender identity.
I started the unit with self reflection, trying to find the connection between contemporary art and decolonization. Last year, I touched on the topic of gender identity, which I wanted to further explore, so I made research plans and sketched out some ideas to follow up in this project.
I did some clown drawings, self portrait sketches, and some paintings. This one is inspired by colorful drag makeup. The one above that is a photograph. However, I doodled digitally with similar colors and added facial hair. As someone who was born and raised in South Asia, we have a rich culture and queer history from centuries, yet it is not accepted in the society, all because of colonialism and its effects. One of the very oldest communities of trans women, intersex individuals, and eunuchs, called the Hijra community, is a big part of past and present queer culture. For further research, I listened to a podcast which stated the earliest record of Hijra community that can be found as most of the records that existed were destroyed by British colonials. I also read books, essays, and articles that were related to it. Nepal, where I'm from, also has a festival called Gai Jatra, where people dress up as different genders or in a different costumes, mostly for entertainment, but it has also unironically become a safer space for queer community. The community also hosts Gai Jatra Pride and drag shows. Following the self portrait sketches I made, I wanted to use my body as a portrait, not just a reflection of me in canvas as a painting, but as a performance. So I decided to record myself making a self portrait painting of me whilst I'm looking at the mirror. A few months ago, I went to a drag workshop organized by Bits and Pieces Theatre where they taught us about drag history, finding your character and drag persona, and stage performance in front of an audience. So that was quite helpful. Then I learned more about drag makeup, both masculine and feminine, and I experimented with dressing up as characters. One is Florence Welch from Florence and the Machine, and another is Jesus from Bible. I then researched contemporary artists making similar works and found out about Sin Waiken. They are non binary drag performance artists working with gender identity, and they use drag as a means to reimagine our relationships to our bodies and to the world. I then did a photo shoot of myself, capturing a series of emotions and different raw feelings portrayed by various expressions. I got really emotional after this shoot. I usually do fit checks on my Instagram, showing not just my outfit, but my confidence in my identity within myself. And this was somehow similar to that, but I wanted to make it a bit poetic by experimenting with my body and in relation of it to the sun and to the moon, and the shot of me walking, portraying my perspective. These are some of the musicals I watched and rewatched that have themes of cross dressing. They are not explicitly exploring their gender identities, however, it can be seen as a form of drag. These are other films that I watched recently that explicitly show transgender and non binary themes, along with the exploration of sexuality as a person of color and the challenges they face as a person of color and immigrant as well. I looked up some online exhibitions, and this one from Queer Tate has particularly very interesting various forms of queer, gender exploring transgender forms of art exhibited. These are some of the highlights of my favorites from the exhibitions. Since this film has bits of narrations, I wrote a couple of drafts for the film, and along with that, to enhance my writing skills, I wrote a small piece of poetry relating my gender fluidity. I also researched more about drag history in Britain and drag in the glamour industry and media, and the one thing I found that was relatable was working class DIY low cost drag culture having its place in this country. Saying that, in the future, I plan to do more drag explorations and possibly drag shows and make more works exploring my gender identity. I am also visiting the exhibition called Resistance in Turner Contemporary and queer film screening in London in upcoming days.
Thank you.